Hello and welcome to 7poundback.com, and it's time for our weekly movie reviews. I'm going to try to do these more often just because they're a little easier to do in audio form than they are in written form. I do have some software coming, which hopefully I can do more of these, but it seems like as I'm starting to get more and more backlogged, and again, I do apologize for that. Uh, by all means, come by and hit 7poundback.com and take a look at all of our great content. Of course, we've got the NFL draft coming up, all that good fun stuff. So, again, please hit the website. Tell us what you think. Please like and subscribe if you're looking at this at YouTube. Please make sure you come back and hit the website early and often if you are reading this on the website. So, let's talk about downsizing. When this movie first came out, I was highly interested in seeing it. I thought it was a great concept. I do like the cast. Matt Damon's in it. Of course, he always seems to pick decently concept movies, I guess. Those of you that read I Love the Martian, uh, Celium, not so much. I mean, he always seems to pick movies with very good premise, I guess you could say. Whether or not how well they do doesn't really seem to be his fault, but it does seem to be something that comes around with it. I do look at downsizing as again, it's a great premise. It's something that really could have done something with it. Christoph Waltz is in it. He's ever since he got out of the Tarantino verse. I've always thought he was just gold in everything he did. Spoiler alert: he's gold in this one too. It's just, I mean, he always seems like he's having so much fun. He always picks his roles very carefully, and he always does as good as he can do with the subject matter that he's given. And in my opinion, he's actually better than the subject matter in a lot of movies that he does. For example, downsizing. So I am going to have spoiler tags at the end. I'll try not to give away too much here. But basically, you have Matt Damon. He's married to Kristen Wiig. They are your average, I guess, upper middle class is probably the best I can put with it. And their life basically is in a rut. They're not really going anywhere. In a parallel storyline, you have a company that comes up with a way to downsize living tissue. They're able to take a normal sized man and make him about 5 inches tall. They're doing this in an effort to save the planet because they shrink like 36 people down. 5 years later, they've got less than a third of a garbage bag size of trash they can't get rid of. Again, interesting. I don't know where the whole saving the planet type thing goes, but again, me and the wife, I kind of had a bit of a discussion with it. I'll come back to that a little bit later with spoilers. But I do kind of think it's a highly interesting concept. And again, that's something that I was really attracted to watch the movie. But anyway, so Matt Damon, they find out that they can't renew the mortgage on their house, so they're kind of screwed. They're in a rut. It's the house he grew up with. You know, they don't have any kids, etc., and so forth. So then they go and they meet up with a friend of theirs, Jason Sudeikis, who tells them all about how great downsizing is and how it's been the best thing he's ever done. It's reinvigorated his life. It's strengthened his marriage, yada, yada, yada. And then they decide that they want to do it. They want to try it out. They go in with the equity of their house for some reason. Now they have the value of like $12 million for some reason. Don't get me started how that number comes about. And then we get into one of the more fascinating type things. Oh, let me back up. A guy at the bar basically whines a bit about how downsizing people are not like real citizens anymore because they take more than they give from the economy. They cost people jobs. I don't see how, because you would think downsizing is a service related industry and you can't really outsource that. Not like they're going to fly you to Japan, shrink you, and then fly you back. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That thread goes absolutely nowhere. Slight spoilers there, just to kind of let you know. So then they decide to go through the downsizing. We get a really interesting sequence of how it's done. They pull out everybody's teeth, they shave all the body hair off, et cetera, and so forth. Matt Damon wakes up in the smaller world. You kind of get the whole. It's almost like Men in Black, where Tommy Lee Jones is standing over the people in the locker. You kind of get that scene, which I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it's still kind of funny. So then he wakes up, comes outside, starts looking for Kristen Wiig. She calls him and says that, they started shaving my head, they shaved my eyebrows, and I just couldn't go through it. I couldn't leave my friends. I couldn't leave my family. So she's gone. See ya. He gets a divorce, which cost him his big giant house. Apparently cost him a good chunk of his money. For some reason, Jason Sudeikis never shows up again, even though they took pains to make sure that they went to the same retirement, well, not a retirement, but same downsized world that he went to. For some reason, he just never shows up. If it's ever explained, apparently I missed it in my 2 viewings. But he's gone. So he's kind of alone. With the divorce, he ends up having to give up his big giant house and goes into an apartment building, to which he is the downstairs neighbor of Christoph Waltz, which is hilarious because Christoph Waltz is this huge black market guy, rich beyond his, one of the richest guys out there, but yet he's living in a shitty apartment complex. Anyway, let's not go there. So again, we get general plot convenience coming on. So we get our Vietnamese lady coming in, we get our trip to Norway, where the downsizing started, all this good stuff. So, and again, I'll come back to some of this with the spoilers. But how was downsizing? It's kind of crappy. Matt Damon, his arc is kind of flat right up until the very last scene. It's a long movie. It is a long movie, and absolutely nothing happens for a long time. It's over 2 hours, and you spend a lot of time waiting for something to happen, or waiting for something to develop, or waiting for somebody to do something interesting, and it doesn't really happen. For a good stretch of the movie, I would say downsizing is probably the first hour and 10 minutes or so. And this is an hour and 30, this is a 135-minute movie. But I want to say like an hour and 10 minutes is the downsizing and doing that. After that, downsizing plays no part. Obviously they're normal sized people because you can't downsize people even in Hollywood. But, they're not like they're going to hire munchkins. But there is no difference between regular sized people and small sized people, which is a bit of a theme of the movie to a certain extent. But the downsizing effect takes really outside of a few comedy gags, really takes no meaning to the story. The whole crux of the story has no bearing on downsizing whatsoever. Our female lead, after Kristen Wiig is gone, is trying to make Matt Damon into a better person. It's cliche. It gets old. It gets tiring. I know the broken English was a quote-unquote choice, but it gets annoying, to tell you the truth. And I'll come back to her a little bit in the spoilers, but again, there's no real reason for it. She's a political activist. That thread goes nowhere. There's all these empty threads they throw out there. All these great ideas they throw out there, and it goes absolutely nowhere. The premise really has no bearing on the end of the movie. It could have very easily been they make humanity half as big. They make humanity twice as big. They make humanity where they, sleep 12 hours a day, so they use less consumable goods and have 100% energy the other 12 hours a day. What changes they make to humanity actually has no bearing towards the end of the movie. And it's kind of sad, really. Not the fact that the movie ends on a downer, because it really doesn't, but the fact that they wasted this great idea, the fact that they wasted all these ideas, the fact that they blew off all these plot threads that could have actually meant something. And at the end, unfortunately, and I'll come back to this in the spoilers, sorry, it still doesn't mean anything. Matt Damon really isn't. He is a good, decent guy who's unable to do that last 10%, which I do kind of identify, to be honest with you. But he's unable to do that last 10% to get from very good to a great guy. And this movie doesn't do that 10% to get from a great premise into a good movie. So, I'm going with a 3 on this. I really do think you should avoid this movie at all costs. It's just not good. It's a waste of a good premise. It's a waste of a good performance. It's a waste of about $60 million. It's a waste of a good idea. and it's, to tell you the truth, it's 2 hours of a waste of a time. I mean, the first hour and a half is really interesting. It's a really good setup. You almost kind of wish somebody would break the film right there and come back and do a second half of a movie where the first the first half is all that counts. Because you could have a much better movie with that. You could do it a lot better. Uh, but anyway, but I'll be back with the spoilers. Thank you very much for watching. Those of us that, like I said, don't want to hit the spoilers, please like and subscribe. Hit the movies. We will be back hopefully next weekend. I do plan on doing these a little more often. But y'all have a great day. And again, thank you for reading or listening or however you're getting my content. Okay, everybody, and time for spoilers. Again, like I said, my biggest thing is it's just such a waste of a premise. There's no real reason for the downsizing. It doesn't make any difference. I won't go into a global warming trait, but that kind of gets thrown under the bus for no good reason. We do all this downsizing. There is a theme of corporate waste and all this other good stuff like that. And then Antarctica just burps up methane and the human race is toast anyway. But again, it still comes back to Matt Damon's character. That is our point of view. That is what we're after. And if you look at it at the very end, and I'm going to skip a lot of the spoilers I was going to do because I have kind of run on a bit here. But I do want to bring this point up. The crew of, I don't even know if they're actually friends because it's not really built. Matt Damon's basically around Christoph Waltz just because Waltz finds him interesting because everybody else is boring, which I guess if you're stuck with a bunch of middle management type people in a crappy apartment building, again, don't get me started, I guess everybody is kind of boring. But anyway, but they're all sitting there looking at the entrance, and he basically says, don't worry, he'll come out because he screws everything up at the end, which is kind of sad because Matt Damon actually does. And the funny thing is if you really look at the movie, if they're trying to save humanity, quote unquote, Matt Damon should have went down the hole and stayed there. He should have done his part to continue humanity, but yet he doesn't. And why does he turn around? What's the big tipping point for why Matt Damon turns around and runs out of the hole? Because he doesn't want to walk uphill for 10 hours. I mean, think about it. That is when, and I watched the scene back like 3 times. That's when he turns around. When he turns around and actually introduces himself to meet a new friend, and basically says, "Well, how long we got to walk? 10 hours." That's when he just kind of stops and he's like, "Are you kidding me?" So that is, I mean, that kind of tells you right there that Matt Damon, even though he can't direct himself, he's got to be directed to be good. It's like his entire character, and I think it's his biggest flaw. It's like, he's a physical therapist. He's not actually doing work. He's not actually a doctor. He's not actually cutting people open. He's telling somebody, and believe me, with my knees, I've been to a lot of physical therapy. Okay, walk on this treadmill for 10 hours. Okay, move your arm like this for 15 minutes. Okay, do this for, 10 minutes at a time. Physical therapists are wonderful human beings because they put people through so much pain to make their lives better when they come out the tunnel. But they are not nearly the same as surgeons, as pediatricians or anything like that. They're very trained in medical, and I don't mean insult physical therapists, but again, they are not surgeons, and I think even physical therapists would admit it. But he spends his time where he's laminating poster boards trying to show somebody how to make their arms feel better so they don't get repetitive issues, so they don't get carpal tunnel syndrome and all this good stuff. But he doesn't really sit there and watch them do it. He leaves them the instructions and leaves. He shows them how to do it and leaves. Then he goes in whenever he's doing all the good things for the Vietnamese lady. Again, he's being directed to do it. She's telling him to do it. He's doing what he's told. Yes, he's doing good, but he's doing it because somebody's making him do it. He starts out with kind of a guilty conscience because he breaks the lady's foot, but then he's being told to do it. When he finally makes a choice to go do it because again he feels that it's right, then as soon as it takes effort, because walking uphill for 10 hours would take effort, he quits. And he runs back. And what's he doing? Back to being told what he's told. Matt Damon character in the movie to me is a bit of a submissive personality. He feels better when he's doing good because he's told to do it. And again, it's a bit of a character flaw because he's the exact same at the end of the movie that he is at the beginning of the movie. It doesn't change. And kind of like, and again, like I said, there is so much on this movie where it's just missed. And to me, that is a bigger miss of the movie. Matt Damon does not grow up. He's still like I said, a bit of a childlike figure where he does what he's told because it makes him feel a little bit better. And again, like I said, that's a flaw in the movie because again, nobody grows. The Norwegian stuff, the hotel stuff, all this good stuff, it really doesn't matter anything at the end. And again, since Antarctica decided to burp up methane, uh, humanity's going to die in a couple of years anyway, which doesn't make any sense. But it is kind of funny that if you're 5 inches tall and you go 1.6 kilometers below the surface of the Earth, that's not good if you get stuck somewhere. I mean, you got to think because good luck digging any of that stuff out. Not to mention the fact, yeah, you got to have building up supplies for like ever, and all it takes is some animal to crash land on your exit site, and you're toast. I mean, you're going to take 800 years. I mean, think about how much dirt and silt's going to crop on top of you to try to dig out. Again, even at a human size, how long would it take you with a shovel to dig through a mile of earth? Could you imagine a mile of earth at 5 inches tall? I mean, you're taking, a handful of dirt a year if you're working around the clock. But still, that's neither here nor there. Like I said, downsizing. I've got huge, major problems with the movie. Again, had it been maybe two movies, maybe it could have been better. You could have actually done something with Matt Damon. You could have done something with Kristen Wiig. You could have done something with Jason Sudeikis. The first part of the movie, I'm engaged. I'm interested. I'm enjoying myself. I'm thinking this would be awesome if they could do it in real life. You don't really get any of the gags that you figured you would. I mean, yeah, I mean, again, the downsizing, it's a gimmick to kind of get you in the theater to get us to get the movie, but it doesn't really mean anything. You don't see like them messing around with a giant orange. Yeah, you do get the thing with a vodka bottle, with them being basically life size, but you don't see anybody like, you don't see like the party girls. They're not jumping into a tub of, Jello pudding pops. They're not doing anything where they're taking. I mean, the whole thing about being small size, which would be interesting, and if you saw Ant-Man, you got to see a lot of this, is normal everyday items being giant sized. They do mention that mosquitoes were a big, huge, hairy problem. Don't know why, because mosquitoes can't exactly stake that. I mean, they would impale you. It would really kill you. I would think something like bees or even ants would be the bigger problem. It, uh, but again, like I said, I mean, they show these big butterflies, but they're not even close. They don't see close-ups. I mean, insects would be the most scary thing in the world, you would think, if you were 5 inches tall. And again, it's not really done. It's not shown. It's, oh, mosquitoes aren't a problem. Well, okay, we got this other colony. Well, ants would be a problem. Again, how much effort do you have to spend to make sure that no ants, no insects whatsoever get into these little communities? You have this boat where you're going up to this colony. You know, if you're a boat this big, how long does it take you to go a mile on actual water? When, it'd be like trying to float a leaf upriver. All it takes is somebody to throw a rock in there at the wrong time that's going to capsize you. But again, this is not shown. It's just like, oh, we'll just fly around the earth. I mean, yeah, just no, that doesn't work like that. But anyway, like I said, it has major problems with it. By all means, throw your other comments at the end. I'm sorry if, like I said, I tried to cut out as much ranting as possible. But I do want to thank you for joining me on this. Like I said, please leave all your comments on it. Like and subscribe if you do. Please leave me comments. I do read and try to respond to each and every one of them. By all means, hit us on the website, 7poundbag.com. Again, we've got all kinds of fun stuff. And y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you.